Welcome to the Glenn Beck program. Nearly 250 have been reported killed by the rash of storms and tornadoes. My wife and I laid in bed last night. It was about 12:30, and I went to my website, and this video was on there. This is from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And as I'm watching it, it was local TV coverage. And it was one of the most frightening things I had ever seen, and I'm not anywhere near the storm. And I thought, my gosh, if I were there and I was watching this on TV, where would I go? What would I do? Mayor said today, we don't even know how to begin to put things right. Fox News has been covering this all day, and we'll have extended news coming up. But our country is in trouble in so many ways. And this is what I've been saying, that we have to be prepared to help others. In Texas, they've declared a state of an emergency. Rick Perry there has asked the president for help. I believe he's waited now 2 weeks and no response from the president. Quite honestly, good. We can do a better job than the federal government can do. What I would like to ask you, especially if you're in Tuscaloosa, what can we do to help? I don't want to talk to the politicians. I want to hear from the people on the ground. Tell us what you need. And you don't have to be there anywhere. Tell us what you need. There are millions of Americans. Email me at help@glennbeck.com. We have another studio audience tonight, and you're going to love these people because these people are standing up. They've just had enough. Hello, America. Last night, I talked to you about courage. Courage and love are two things that this program is going to focus on here while we are completing our work here at Fox. It is moving me in another direction. We've told you about enlightenment and education and empowerment and entrepreneurship. And really the basis of many of these things really is courage and love. You can't enact any of these if you don't have the courage to ask, does God exist and what's my relationship? It takes courage to say, maybe I don't know the answer. And courage and love to be able to be empowered. Each and every one of us will need profound courage in the coming days, just like they do in Tuscaloosa, just like they do in Texas and all over the country. For the next months and years, I think courage and love, compassion are going to be key words for Americans. Some people already know what this means in their life, others aren't so sure, and I think most have no idea what I'm even talking about. I'm here to tell you, if we keep going in the direction that we're going, it will not last. We have disconnected from each other. We have disconnected from our own responsibilities. And you can call it progressivism or socialism, Marxism, big government, behavioral economics, I love that one, social justice from the pulpit, or environmental justice from another kind of pulpit. You call it whatever you want, but it is not freedom, it is control. How do you get a free people to gladly and eagerly walk into a cage? Well, it's indoctrination. I have been trying to convey to as many people as possible, good intentions or not, our freedoms are decreasing, not increasing. There really are those people who believe that man cannot choose for themselves. They should not choose for themselves. Their choices have to be narrowed down like little children and limited to the good choices. Well, how will we ever know if the spiritual stove is hot if we're not allowed to touch it? You can't regulate your way into prosperity. You cannot mandate your way into peace, legislate your way into happiness, and you certainly can't have someone else making all the decisions and you have your soul saved. Man is not designed like that. He's not designed. He was never designed to be put in a cage. Man was made to be free. But freedom, real freedom, takes courage and compassion. For decades, we have been watching our freedoms and choices fade away, but we've ignored it because we had the big house, or we had the car, we had the cushy job, we had the big future. We're America. Well, we're about to lose all those things. So now what do we have? When will America stand up and say, enough is enough? I want my freedom and my choices back. I don't think that time is far off. Unfortunately, I don't think the time where they close the gate of the cage is far off either. I want to show you, this is a gut-wrenching video. It's from a former Miss USA winner. She's a frequent traveler, and she has been through security lines enough time to know that they're routine, but a recent stop in Dallas was anything but routine. She doesn't like going through those big x-ray machines. I don't like doing it because those pictures are around forever. Trust me. Oh, I'm sorry. Believe the government. They're erased immediately. She's not going through it because, here's a crazy concept, she thinks a giant electronic device shooting radiation out of it might not be real healthy, especially if you're a frequent traveler. So she opts to go through the line and just get the pat down. Well, it doesn't go well. As soon as it's over, she cut the quick video that you're going to see here in a minute, where she said this.
I'm crying because I'm just really, really upset that as an American, I have to go through this. And I do feel violated. I didn't think that I would when I had to opt out of the machine, but I completely feel violated. This woman, she touched my vagina 4 times because she went up my leg, up both legs, from behind, and then turned around and did it in the front. So
this is someone's daughter. This is somebody's wife or girlfriend. When is enough enough? Right before this clip, she said the TSA agent was doing her job, but when is enough enough? Her website with this video quotes Ben Franklin. Those that would give up their liberty for security deserve neither and will lose both. How much more liberty is going to be handed over for the illusion of security? And this means financial security as well. I talked to Alan West today. I'm trying to trick him into running for president. I think he's fantastic. He told me that he thought the mindset of the parties in the United States of America, Republican and Democrat, is breaking down. He said we have to get the people to go out and find the candidates that can be their voice and will stand there and be resilient and vigilant and not willing to sacrifice their honor and integrity and character just to be part of the political machine. He went on to say, they are trying to force you into a certain behavior, and how true it is. Isn't that right? I know, Cass, are you watching tonight? Somebody should nudge you into watching this show, because we're on to you, man, and you're doing a... You were born for this role. Scary, isn't it? I have another story for you. This one's from California. A man from a local church showed up at a DMV office. His pastor said, you know, I've been driving by and here are all these people standing there in the morning, and they're just standing there. Why don't we go and preach a message to them? Now, I know this is scary to a lot of people in California, but he was carrying a Bible when he showed up, and he said, I just want to read from the Bible. His goal is to tell people about the gospel of Jesus Christ. You might find that annoying. You might find that whatever. But really, is this 15 minutes later? Is it worth this? They arrest him, cuff him. He was informed that he was guilty of preaching to a captive audience. The law he apparently broke, impeding an open business, which kills me because they don't seem to have a problem when the unions do that. They show up at banks and shut them down for hours. That's the standard operating procedure now. But this guy cracks open a Bible and he's in cuffs 15 minutes later. I tell you what, next union rally, you make sure you show up with a Bible. They'll have everybody shut down instantly. The officer said this wasn't a violation of free speech. It's just that if he would have gotten a permit, he would have been allowed to protest. Reading the Bible isn't a protest. Quote, we would have granted them a permit to go out and preach. There's a mechanism to be allowed to protest. We don't inhibit people's right to free speech. We just regulate it. Oh my gosh, Cass Sunstein, is that you again? Again, not the police officer's fault. He's doing his job. But look at the choices we are giving ourselves. If you want to speak, you better have a permit. We've allowed ourselves to believe the lie that the limiting of choice, the redistricting of our freedoms, is for our own good. A big reason for that is because we're being told a lie over and over, and that lie is really now sinking into our youth because we, as parents, dropped the ball. Our kids are adrift in a sea of filth and lies. Watch this. This is the latest Superman comic book coming out. It's from the 900th from DC Comics. Here it is. There's Superman. Do you have the pullout? Superman here is, well, the Man of Steel. What's he doing now? He's not fighting for truth, justice, and the American way. No. He's renouncing his citizenship. Quote, "I'm tired of having my actions construed as instruments of U.S. policy. Truth, justice, and the American way is just not enough anymore." You know what he's doing? He told the president that in this issue, and he's going to the UN to tell them, "I'm one of you." When I grew up with Superman, and Spin and Marty and Zorro. I grew up, the worst thing for me, I think, was Gilligan's Island. Look at the messages our kids are getting everywhere. I believe in truth, justice, and the American way. But now it's truth and social justice, and not the American way. And the truth part is even questionable. Our kids don't learn anything that we learned. Andy Stern said, "Workers of the world, unite." The president says American exceptionalism is the same as French or English exceptionalism. It's not exceptionalism. He doesn't even understand what it means. But they're being taught in school now to become Che. And our merchandising is reinforcing this image of Che. And of course, Hollywood, the media is doing so well to reinforce it as well. Why are we surprised when we see video like this? This is terrifying to me. Tucson, Arizona, school officials had the audacity to call into question a Mexican-American history class because the class may teach the overthrow of the United States government. I've read part of it. It is frightening. They say it also may teach kids to hate white people. I've read it. I don't know how it could be any other way. So how did the students react to that? Well, just like good Che supporters, they chained themselves to the school board member's desk before a meeting, and they went nuts. Watch this. This is incredible. Part of the curriculum calls for abolishing Thanksgiving for a National Day of Atonement that includes the headline, "Death to the Invader." There is rage in some of these kids' eyes. Now, why wouldn't there be? They are being taught that their future is over because of the evil corporation and the evil United States government with its evil, outdated Constitution. You know the difference between now and the 1960s? The 1960s, these dope-smoking freaks were at least in college. But that's not good enough for Bill Ayers and his buddies. Now they've got to get our children in high school, junior high, and elementary. Our children are not learning anything we learned in our time. Nothing. It doesn't just, you're not an American through osmosis. You must teach them. Do you remember our Founding Fathers Fridays? We didn't even learn those things in school. Can you imagine what they're learning now? Was the Pledge of Allegiance controversial when you were in school? Today, apparently, the ACLU has forced a Texas school district to change its policy. Now, they already don't have to say it, but now it's too offensive to even ask children to stand during the Pledge of Allegiance. Quote, "Our Bill of Rights and American tradition protect dissenters, and the majority just the same. And the right to express disagreement is patriotic value that all Texans should fight for." Bull crap. ACLU, dissenters should be protected. But why would anyone not stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? What are we teaching our children with that? I've been in foreign countries before. I'm not really down with the "oh, Canada" thing. I mean, it's not my country. But I'll stand, and I will stand there respectfully. Unless I was hostile to the country, I would stand out of respect. I have been to a mosque in Philadelphia. I met a imam and I sat in the mosque and I prayed at a mosque. I didn't pray to Allah, but as they prayed, I wasn't just kicking back eating Doritos. Out of respect. That's not taught, because there's no reason to respect an oppressor. In one Massachusetts school, let's go this direction, parents had to sign a permission form for kids to say the pledge. One school stopped saying it altogether, and when one student tried to get it going again, he was initially told, well, you're not going to find any teachers who will want to do that. Some teachers are openly plotting for ways to work Marxism into the classroom. Here it is.
How do you actually, as a teacher in a classroom, kind of promote ideas of Marxism? I think radicals and socialists have a particular role to play in kind of fighting for that type of education. It's organizing the teachers, it's organizing parents, and working together to actually fight for an entirely different kind of educational system.
Oh, yeah. No, it's entirely a different kind of educational, yeah, it is. They're also being taught the evils of capitalism in the form of cartoon fun. We've showed you this from the Tides Foundation. This is great stuff here. It's their job, the government, to take care of you. By the way, the same people who put this video out have a new one out called The Story of Citizens United. Listen to this BS.
Today's corporations have evolved to have something very dangerous in their programming. Unlike people who are driven by all kinds of motivations, doing the right thing, love for family, their country, the planet, publicly traded corporations are now required by law in the markets to pursue one single motivation above all others. Maximize value for shareholders. Make as much money as possible.
Okay.
That's it. Yes, it is people who run
these evil free market corporations are polluting and destroying the earth. They're jamming this down our kids' throats. And you know what? Sometimes that's true. General Electric. But nobody seems to mention the corporations that have helped the world, like Microsoft. Tell me how Microsoft didn't change the world. How about Apple? Are they doing anything? Hey, how about that giant corporation of Facebook? Is that good? Or is it select companies? Which ones are they? Look at this website, EnergyStarKids.gov. Be a star. Stop the evil corporations before they destroy the earth. They're getting this message pounded home every day. America is bad as it was founded. We got to change it. Drop the borders. And they're getting it from people like the Marxist revolutionary teacher in Southern California who's been calling for revolution, to the countless socialist groups infiltrating and organizing student walkouts and protests. And it's not just limited to capitalism. Our morals and principles are under attack as well. The state of Massachusetts used a website for sex education called Maria Talks, which promotes abortion as like it's totally easier than it sounds, end quote. Here's how the site responds to a question about whether a girl can get an abortion if she's under 18. Quote, okay, I totally know that this information can sound pretty intimidating and overwhelming, but I promise you the reality of getting an abortion is much easier than it sounds here. It continues, I know it sounds crazy, but just keep reading. This can really be done, and young women do it all the time here in Massachusetts. The site goes on to glow about how safe and easy it is to get an abortion, while at the same time expressing concerns about the mental side effects of giving a child away for an adoption. My son was given to us by a superhero, a teenage girl that got into trouble. A superhero. Don't talk to me about the side effects. Oh, yeah, it's much better to kill your baby. And if you happen to be in the market for an abortion, all the contact information for Planned Parenthood is reading right there for your children. In Utah, Planned Parenthood supports a puberty education maturation program for the kids age 8 to 12. Their site provides links for educators that cover everything from how do you even have sex to what is a condom. And while they do mention that it's not a horrible idea to talk to your parents, they stress that you need to talk to an adult who has information, which is an amazing coincidence and an interesting qualifier, because another message our kids are getting is parents don't know what they're talking about. I do. Watch Al Gore telling kids for like the 40th time to not listen to their parents.
Young people ask their parents in that era, explain to me again why it's okay to have legal discrimination on the basis of skin color. And when they could not answer that moral question coming straight from the conscience of young people, that's when the laws began to change.
He has said this many times. Don't listen to your kids on global warming. Van Jones has said it, and we just showed you last night A union that is saying, hey, we've got to get the kids. Got to get the kids. Parents now in New York are being ignored despite their outrage over the fact that convicted felons are teaching their children. Mayor Bloomberg has thrown his hands in the air and says there's nothing I can do about it. Quote, there are very strict rules in the existing contract that prohibit the city from deciding in this case whether these people should be in the classroom. They are convicted felons, but it's in the contract. Well, I say to hell with the damn contract. If the government can say to hell with the contract with GM, then why can't we do it when it comes to our kids in the classroom? America, if you can't get convicted felons out of the classroom, if you have Marxist revolutionaries writing textbooks, if you have citizens being groped by the TSA, when is enough enough? When? And if you say, oh, I don't know, about 15 minutes ago, then we're going to show you some people who feel the same way and are actually standing up. Back in a minute. They're not going to be able to be on the program tonight, but I asked at the time for people to come that have had enough and have found things in their own life and are looking for ways to connect or are looking to connect with others. We have to start doing that, and I want you to go to my website at glennbeck.com and sign up for my email newsletter. There's coming information on some things that I'm working on that I want you to be able to read and understand. I need to be able to reach out to you at glennbeck.com. Please sign up now. Now, Cindy Rose is a mother from Maryland who was outraged what was written in her 9-year-old daughter's textbook. Glenn Rickabaugh is a dad from Pennsylvania who says one of his daughter's teachers is a Marxist. His daughter is here with him, trying to get the school board now to stop the alleged indoctrination. Nick Pandelias is a doctor who founded York Suburban Citizens for Responsible Government in Pennsylvania. He and others have been taking a stand against proposed tax hikes to fund benefits and raises for teachers. I don't know why he hates teachers so much. And Lisa Becker is here. She works at Dayspring Christian Academy in Pennsylvania. This is a school that teaches children about principles and values and not politics. Cindy, let me start with you. This is Social Studies Alive, Our Community and Beyond. Your daughter was sick, and she needed to do some homework.
Right. They brought it. She came home as makeup work.
And what did you do?
I started reading it, and the more I read it, the angrier I got. The chapters are about indoctrination, minimalizing anything that has to do with America. Talks about protesting, global activism. It's all about getting your child comfortable.
I just wanted you to see this. Child care is important, but it's not free for people in the United States, or most. Families have to pay for child care. It can be very expensive. Some people have to pay as much for child care as they earn in their jobs when they don't have enough money to pay for other things such as food and health care. In some countries, like child care is a public service. For example, Denmark and Vietnam. Child care is free or costs very little. Well, let's all move to Vietnam, everybody. It makes it easier for parents to work. Then the question is, do you think age of this for the 9-year-olds, do you think child care should be a public service in your community? Well, of course.
Obviously.
Then you have the global community here, where we just can't really be Americans anymore. It's global. I like this one. This is voting.
Yeah.
And what is this telling the kids to do?
This is that they should go out and they should demonstrate. Isn't that the one on demonstration? They should go out and they should demonstrate, and you should have a voice in your community.
Oh,
and they're just kids.
It's fantastic, all the things that we can learn. So what have you, and healthcare here, by the way, healthcare is really a right, especially in places as glorious as Vietnam. What have you done now?
I've gone through the steps of trying to have that book removed. I've gone to the curriculum specialist who's in charge of doing this book. I was told it will not be removed from the classroom. It will stay another year until the book comes up for its technical review, and next year is the time that it will be reviewed.
I have to tell you, this lady who's now at the airport, I said to her, I said, you've got to pull your kids out of school. I home teach my children. And I said, you've got to pull your kids out of school. And she said something really, really great. She said, no, because then they'll just do it to all the other kids.
That's right.
And I had never looked at it that way, but she's right.
Right.
But the reason, the genesis of this show is to get people to stand together. Cindy, do you have other parents with you in the school?
I do have other parents. I have school board members. We have a brand new school board. They are addressing these issues. I'm going through the process of having this gotten rid of, and the new school board is helping me to get rid of this book.
How many people had no idea 2 years ago how far down the river we have sold our children? It's amazing. It's amazing how far down. Glenn, how did you find out about your daughter's problem?
Well, my daughter, she came home and told me that, first off, the movies are being shown in her school, not only Al Gore's movie, Inconvenient Truth, and not only the George Soros Story of Stuff, but she told me about a health teacher that she had in a health class. He was putting the movie Sicko on as a gold line-based standard to show how socialized medicine is so much better than privatized medicine, but America just hasn't caught on yet. And additionally making comments like, the Constitution is 400 years old. Why would we follow a Constitution 400 years old that was drawn up by a bunch of rich old white guys?
Did he, did he actually say 400 years old?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, he's smart.
But who
I'm very smart. It's 400 years old.
But really, I mean,
wow.
Who cares about facts, you know,
Yeah,
when we're trying to push an agenda, and that's all he's trying to do.
So what have you done in the classroom?
Well, he would say, I would like say, wait, that's not right. And he was like, well, you know, bring me facts, show me, you know, give me proof. You know, so I would do, you know, bring stuff in to support my answer, and the next day, and he wouldn't show the class. And when I tried to speak up in the class, because I was the only one in the class that had that view opposing him, he just like, he would mock me, he would just like kids.
Glenn, so where's that ending?
Well, I don't know where it's ending, but it's just begun, because for a year and a half I've been trying to have these issues addressed. The principal and the superintendent have been totally disregarding the issue. This guy, he's even gone so far as to put Judeo-Christian scripture up on the wall, bring a t-shirt in saying Jesus was a liberal, and saying, why would we follow this book as a society? The people in the community are just starting to be made aware of it, and literally when I finally had the issues addressed because of the community, the school board, at the last school board meeting, got up and left the room when the people in the community said,
What's the name of the community?
Let this guy be heard. Quakertown, Pennsylvania. Quakertown High School.
Quakertown?
Yeah, yeah.
That's unbelievable.
That's just the tip of it, believe me.
All right, so listen. There are, on the banner, Tiffany put one of the banners up which says where you can get involved. On the banner there are people that contact, you know, what's a dad to do at gmail.com. You'll see these things. If you want to get involved, the point of this is we must, the best organized, as you're seeing in Egypt, the best organized wins. Well, they are years and billions of dollars ahead. So what are you going to do? With love and courage, stand up and start finding those people next to you that will stand up and take on the system at the local level. Back in just a second. With everything that is going on in our country today, everything that we are experiencing, you have to understand that our children do not have, they are not tethered to anything, that we are tethered by a thread because of how we were raised. We remember our grandparents, and you have to be uber vigilant. Our whole culture right now is set up for you and the values that we grew up on to lose. Let me give you an example. I don't know if you've ever seen the TV show Glee, but this show stands out and stands for almost every value that I have. I've seen this episode or this show twice with my wife this year, and I've watched it in stunned horror combined with a sense of admiring awe. It is a brilliant, brilliant show. Very, very, very well done. But it is a horror show. If you've never seen it, it's about a high school glee club. All of the characters are extremely good-looking, extremely talented. Everybody in here, she's, by the way, hysterical. Everybody in here is somebody that your kids would want to be like. Except everybody is sleeping with everybody else. There's no values. It's all self-gratification. It's a nightmare. Well, we're watching this show, and the dialogue, very funny, but presenting in that dialogue is just storylines that are horrifying. Brilliant songs and performances, brilliantly edited, brilliantly shot. I watched this scene. Last time I saw this must have been maybe 2 months ago. And I said to my wife, play a little bit of this, please. This is at the end of the episode. It goes on. It is brilliant. Brilliant. I looked at my wife and I said, there is no way to beat this. There is no way to beat this. And it will go by most people, and they'll say, oh, it's no big deal. Pay attention to the lyrics. This is Sing by Chemical Romance. And I love it. I love it. But listen to the lyrics. Cleaned up, corporation progress, dying in the process, children that can talk about it, living in the railways, people moving sideways. Sell it to your last days. Buy yourself the motivation generation. Nothing. Nothing but a dead scene. Product of a white dream. This is propaganda, and it's an anthem. It's an anthem saying, join us. How can you and I possibly win against that? Then I remembered a story about my chief of staff, Joe Carey. He's always right on the other side of a camera. He is a guy that I admire so much. I think I admire his grandparents and his mother more than him. Joe's mom escaped from North Korea. When Joe and his siblings were young, one day she found the kids watching TV instead of doing their homework. This is a woman who worked at a 7-Eleven when she came to America. And she came in tired. And she looked at the kids and said, what are you doing? And they said, we'll do it after this show. She picked up the TV. She's about this tall. And she picked up the TV and she threw it out into the front lawn. This is the kind of white trash that I can appreciate. Joe said he didn't have a TV in the house again until he was about 18. Now, for most kids, that would be Armageddon. No Glee, no American Idol, no MTV. What? No reason to live. Maybe the worst thing you could do is maybe give him a cell phone. What? No text? Well, without TV, here's what happened to Joe's family. Joe's brother wound up with something like 1,500 doctorates. I think he actually has a doctorate and a PhD from Oxford, 3 master's degrees. He's now a tenured professor and is at 3 of the prestigious universities. His sister is like a modern-day Florence Nightingale, registered nurse, an attorney, works in the healthcare administration on one of the hospitals that she oversees, the oldest in America, the one founded by Ben Franklin. Joe, he's kind of a loser in the family. He works for me. But at one time, he was somebody with a future. He worked at the White House. He served at the New Jersey Supreme Court. His fall from grace is now complete. But Joe's mother was on to something. We don't have to live by the standards that everybody else has set, that society has set. And you know what is right. Now, I think there's a very important show at 5 o'clock that you should watch. But other than that, maybe Joe's mom was right. Maybe she was on to something. Studio audience of parents concerned about the indoctrination of their children in school. Nick, you are from York, Pennsylvania. And what are you doing?
Well, I first became concerned when I recognized that the ramifications in our society as a result of the change in ideology of our public education. It used to be based in our Judeo-Christian worldview, foundational worldview, and now switched to a secular progressive ideology. So when I was a child, when you were a child, virtues such as honesty, industriousness, charity, love of God, country, and family were promoted. We were encouraged to make decisions to differentiate between right and wrong, good and evil. Now, tolerance has been deemed the supreme virtue. You know, our children are taught varied and often conflicting beliefs and lifestyles are equivalent and equally good.
Isn't it amazing how tolerance is taught, and yet if you disagree, they bully you and get you to shut up? So what are you doing?
Well, ultimately, I decided that I couldn't have any effect at the national or state level, so we're doing what we can to promote good governance at the local level. The governor is close to us, so I joined our York 912 Patriots, and then I started up the York Suburban Citizens for Responsible Government, because if the government closest to me could not spend its money wisely, could not perform the function that it was supposed to do, which was to teach the kids, then there was no reason to worry about Obamacare.
Yeah. Lisa, you are with a Christian school, private school.
Yes, sir.
Why first of all, are you seeing an increase in people fleeing the public schools.
It is. We have had a significant interest over the past year. Dayspring offers educational programs for the community as well, and there has just been a groundswell, hundreds of people coming to school for various programs.
I want to ask you the difference on what, I mean, because what Nick was just talking about, you're still doing. What was taught before is now still being taught in private schools. We'll do that in just a second. Tonight, concerned parents and people who are thinking, what is happening to our kids? And this is the beginning. This is the first in what I hope to be a series of episodes of people that are... The first episode here is, there's a problem. The next episode will be, here's what you do. But Lisa, I wanted to bring you in because you are actually doing something in your school. And what is the difference between what is being taught in your private school that was taught and no longer taught in public schools?
Yeah, it's completely different. Dayspring is one of about 25 principal approach schools in the nation. It is the method of education that was prevalent during the founding era of our nation. It teaches students. We want them to be able to think and to reason from biblical principles and apply them to every area of life. And it really is designed and created with the intention of counteracting that secular and socialistic efforts that are going on in America today. We restore those principles like self-government that generations were raised up in, to teach responsibility and accountability and taking care of your neighbor. And those are really founded in biblical principles. And we teach our students to stand on those truths. And we want to be able to have our young people go out there and restore that biblical foundation.
It's what we were talking about yesterday. George Washington said, let us raise a standard that can be restored by the wise and the honest. Do I have time, Deborah, real quick? Real quick.
I think one of the greatest difficulties is in high school, because I think they have a real toehold there. Because in high school, as you know, teenagers, they don't want to stand out, they don't want to stand up, and grades start to matter. So if they go against the teacher, challenge them, they're worried about their grade.
Let me tell you something. Don't let your child fool you into thinking that grades matter. Character matters more than anything else. Character matters most of all, and courage is the most important thing you can teach. Back in a minute. Schools here for their children. Jesus makes his appearance as a corpse, the living man, a wine-guzzling vagrant and precocious socialist. Watch your children. From New York, good night. Welcome to the Glenn Beck program. Nearly 250 have been reported killed by the rash of storms and tornadoes. My wife and I laid in bed last night. It was about 12:30, and I went to my website, and this video was on there. This is from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And as I'm watching it, it was local TV coverage. And it was one of the most frightening things I had ever seen, and I'm not anywhere near the storm. And I thought, my gosh, if I were there and I was watching this on TV, where would I go? What would I do? Mayor said today, we don't even know how to begin to put things right. Fox News has been covering this all day, and we'll have extended news coming up. Call it whatever you want, but it is not freedom, it is control. How do you get a free people to gladly and eagerly walk into a cage? Well, it's indoctrination. I have been trying to convey to as many people as possible, good intentions or not, our freedoms are decreasing, not increasing. There really are those people who believe that man cannot choose for themselves. They should not choose for themselves. Their choices have to be narrowed down like little children and limited to the good choices. Well, how will we ever know if the spiritual stove is hot if we're not allowed to touch it. You can't regulate your way into prosperity. You cannot mandate your way into peace, legislate your way into happiness, and you certainly can't have someone else making all the decisions and you have your soul. Courage to say, maybe I don't know the answer. And courage and love to be able to be empowered. Each and every one of us will need profound courage in the coming days, just like they do in Tuscaloosa, just like they do in Texas and all over the country. For the next months and years, I think courage and love, compassion are going to be key words for Americans. Some people already know what this means in their life, others aren't so sure, and I think most have no idea what I'm even talking about. I'm here to tell you, if we keep going in the direction that we're going, it will not last. We have disconnected from each other. We have disconnected from our own responsibilities. And you can call it progressivism or socialism, Marxism, big government, behavioral economics, I love that one, social justice from the pulpit, or environmental justice from another kind of pulpit. But our country is in trouble in so many ways. And this is what I've been saying, that we have to be prepared to help others. In Texas, they've declared a state of an emergency. Rick Perry there has asked the president for help. I believe he's waited now 2 weeks and no response from the president. Quite honestly, good. We can do a better job than the federal government can do. What I would like to ask you, especially if you're in Tuscaloosa, what can we do to help? I don't want to talk to the politicians. I want to hear from the people on the ground. Tell us what you need. And you don't have to be there anywhere. Tell us what you need. There are millions of Americans. Email me at help@glennbeck.com. We have another studio audience tonight, and you're going to love these people because these people are standing up. They've just had enough. Hello, America. Last night, I talked to you about courage. Courage and love are two things that this program is going to focus on here while we are completing our work here at Fox. It is moving me in another direction. We've told you about enlightenment and education and empowerment and entrepreneurship. And really the basis of many of these things really is courage and love. You can't enact any of these if you don't have the courage to ask, does God exist and what's my relationship? It takes